Welcome to the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top founders and experts in the e-commerce industry and take an in-depth look at the struggles and successes in growing e-commerce brands profitably.
Josh Chin here. I'm the host of the E-commerce Profits Podcast, where we feature top experts and founders in the e-com industry, and we go behind the scenes of the struggles and successes in growing a brand. Now, this episode is brought to you by Chronos.agency. If you run a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand that is ready for next-level growth and scale, and to double your customer lifetime value through retention marketing, Chronos is your company. We have helped hundreds of brands scale profits through email, SMS, and mobile push, while getting an average of 3,500% ROI from our efforts. We've worked with brands like Truly Beauty, Elias Skin, and Dr. Living Good, and many more. Now, the next step is to email us at sales@chronos.agency, or you can go to chronos.agency to learn more. Now, today's guests that I have with me, number one, Cody Iverson is the CEO of VisCap Media. He's also a co-founder, a leading direct-to-consumer, direct response ad creative agency. After building and scaling 2 e-commerce brands to 7 figures, he's now on the agency side, helping others scale. Brandon Monaghan is partner at VisCap Media, runs multiple 8-figure brands such as Shine Armor and Miracle Brand. Brandon has been in the e-com game for 6 years and counting, launched and sold multiple 7- and 8-figure brands, founded e-com masterminds, and has teams of 100 people and above. Cody, Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Josh, thank you very much for having us, man. It's an absolute pleasure. Very excited.
All right. Now, first question. I'm super excited by this, but we got to talk about your background and how VisCap came about, because you guys are crushing it in the DTC space. You have some incredible brands in your portfolio. Some incredible work has been done. We have some mutual clients as well. Tell me how VisCap came about. I guess we could start with Cody, and Brandon, you could fill in on anything else that's missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll definitely have some to fill in here, because a lot of this that we have here today is because of Brandon. The long story is that while we were in e-com, we had success. We joined masterminds, one of which is Brandon's mastermind. And he was starting a new brand. We did a favor. One of our other partners, Tyler, and I did a favor for Brandon, which was creating a video ad for one of the new brands that he was working on. The video ad did well, and we really took a look at it. We weren't in anything like solid for e-com at the time. And we saw a great opportunity to be able to pivot and help a lot of our friends at the time with content, something that was becoming increasingly more difficult that we had been pretty good at as a team. From there, Brandon really put us on. And Brandon, you can maybe pick up from there, kind of like, where you came in at.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the time, so, there wasn't really any, I mean, for us running e-commerce companies, there wasn't really any creative agencies that were working as like an extension of your company. And it was really costly and time consuming for us to go build our own company, creative agency or just creatives in-house. So we were already good friends with Cody and Tyler. And we kept telling them, like, you guys are doing these shoots for like events and just playing around with cameras. They've been in the e-com space. They were making their own ads, and we're like, just shoot us something. And if it does well, then we'll pay you guys. And after kind of nagging them for a while, they ended up creating some content for us, and it did extremely well. So it kind of just snowballed from there. We started paying them to start doing monthly work for us. And then some of our other friends said, wow, that's really good stuff. I want to get in on it. And word of mouth really took it to where it is today. So it's been a pretty crazy ride, really, really rapid growth. And it's wild to think, like, a year and a half, 2 years ago, there was no office, and I mean, how big, what are we moving into today, Cody?
We just got the keys yesterday for a 23,000 square foot office.
Holy crap. That is huge. That's incredible. And dude, amazing. And how long has it been? What, 2 years? Less?
So it would be like 2 years since Tyler and I started, and then like a year and a half when it took me and Tyler like, let's say half a year to kind of like dial in systems and create product market fit. And at that point, that's when Brandon and Justin became partners. And that's really when VisCap like truly started.
Right. Now, I want to talk about superpowers because you guys bring very different kind of aspects of the business to life. From my perspective, now, Brandon, you bring the strategy component to making amazing videos and making things incredibly magical. And Cody, you bring a level of work ethic that I've never seen before. Like I would like pretty confidently say that you are one of the most hardworking people that I know in the ecom game today. So let's start with that. Tell me a little bit about your work schedule and what that looks like.
Sure. So wake up at 3:15 every day. Usually spend 15 minutes from 3:15 to 3:30 visualizing the day. Cold shower, cold glass of water, at the office by 4, write my goals, read, journal. So I'm usually able to start my actual day by 4:45, and that gives me about 3 hours uninterrupted before the rest of the office comes in. Usually then I'll work from 8 until 7, in bed by 9. Repeat.
It's fucking insane. Dude, that is insane. I've done the 5 a.m. till 11 p.m. thing for a short period of time. That's when I realized that I'm super ineffective with very little sleep and very little balance. So massive kudos to you. I guess I could say that that's your superpower, just being an incredibly hard worker and getting shit done. Or would you say that's something else?
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that I'm like good at. But I don't really believe in balance. Like I want to be all in on making our team's dreams come true and like leading by example, working hard and condensing time. Like the harder you work and the more you can delegate, like the more you can condense time, and time is the same for everybody. So like how I use my time allows me to like work harder and produce more.
That's insane. Brandon, what about you? What's your superpower?
Well, I definitely sleep more than Cody. Actually, right now, I'm probably not because I just had twins and I have a 19-month-old. So probably
That's
now,
more to sleep. Yeah.
Not as much.
See ya.
But my superpower, I don't really, I think the biggest thing that I could talk about, like more of like what I contribute to VisCap is I just we're always, I think one thing that in my companies I've always noticed, and one thing I'm transitioning over to VisCap is that we're always like one step ahead in terms of content. So, our theory has always been that Facebook ads are going to become, and Instagram ads and all these ad platforms are going to become less and less about the person bumping budgets. It's really going to turn into a content creation game. And I mean, even with these iOS updates, right? Like really, it's going to come down to who has the best creatives. And we've kind of always been about that. I mean, I remember when Facebook and Instagram were so powerfully weighted in photo ads. And it was all about like, okay, you have a photo ad, and then now how do you make, then it went to like adding red borders, and then it went to, adding all these different things. It's always just one step into the next to become better and better. And I think that's transitioned for me over the last 6 years is that, if we want to keep winning and we want to get the lowest cost in our advertising and we want to have the most effective advertising, we need to have the best content. And like for me, I'm always, always up all night. I mean, it'll keep me up all night until I figure out or I'm on to the next thing for content creation. So I'm literally sending Cody tons of things on Instagram, tons of ideas on Slack. on just how we can differentiate ourselves and bring the best possible content to our clients. And because really, like I said, at the end of the day, like it's going to be more and more about content as these ad platforms get smarter and smarter.
Mm-hmm. And he said, I'll add something there. Brandon said something there, sending ideas. Brandon's very much a visionary. He's got a ton of great ideas, and I implement. So like we make a great team. He has tons of great ideas. He's also got his finger on the pulse by running his own brands. So, and his connections, his network, he's very much like an idea man and a brand builder.
Wildly successful brands at that as well. Tell me a little bit about Shine Armor, Brandon. What was the kind of key milestones in building that brand, and what have you learned in the recent years?
Yeah, so I started that company like 2.5 years ago with my partner Justin, and Justin's a phenomenal entrepreneur. Justin Kemperman. He's very much a behind the scenes kind of guy, which is great. Super young guy, more data and analytical. And I'm, more of definitely the creative end. And I mean, it's a similar relationship to like Cody and I, where, I just hammer out tons and tons of ideas and what to do next. And then, he's kind of like the filter that's like, yeah, okay, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. Like I said, super similar to how my relationship is with Cody. And so we started it with like 60 grand. And within year one, I'm really bad with numbers. So I'll say over the last 2 years, we've gone from 0 to this year, we should hit close to 70 million in sales. We're in every single Walmart in America. We're in every Dollar General in America. We're in Home Depot, CVS, Walmart, Kroger. We are number one on Amazon in the automotive industry, the whole automotive category. We even have the number one spot for car wax. Our D2C side does really, really well. It makes up most of our revenue. In the last year or so, we've gone really, really heavy in international. So we've developed a lot of systems, and really, like, the funny thing is that one thing that's always constant and the one thing that everything always comes back to is creatives. And like I was just mentioning before, like, we used to always be so focused on the best ad strategy and the best ad hack and like how do we really like get the best out of the algorithm. And really the one thing that we've been moving into more and more and really building out and focusing on is creatives. And I think that's one of the biggest pieces that's allowed us to constantly scale and not hit plateaus or not max out, is because we're pumping out a lot of content. Like every week, hundreds of pieces of content, testing new angles, making variations of winning angles, and just continuously pumping out content. So for us, I think, one of the biggest things I've learned is always be innovative in our content. And then one thing I'm really noticing now is the power of the whole omnichannel kind of model. So like, for a while, all these DNVBs were very, very passionate about not being on Amazon, not being anywhere else, just be direct to consumer, own the customer. But like, that's when ad costs were really, really cheap and it was a lot easier to say. Nowadays, you really can't do that. I mean, I don't personally know anybody who doesn't have funding and is 100% D2C. Like, you just really can't do it. I mean, at scale, right? And I mean, 50 million, 100 million a year type of at scale. And so for us, our model has become really, really, really entrenched in this whole omni-channel approach. So we look at our D2C side kind of as the engine that fuels all of our other channels: retail, Amazon, Walmart.com. And that allows us to, if we wanted to, break even on D2C side so we could pick up profits on all these other channels. But, we're lucky enough because we push out a lot of content and because we've really dialed in content to where we can be profitable on D2C side and be profitable on all these other channels. So I would say those are probably the two biggest things I've picked up on is content and omnichannel, this whole omnichannel market.
I have so much to unpack there, but all right, I'm just gonna keep it to one question now. We think about kind of omnichannel in e-com as a standard sequence of events that happen typically naturally. As a kind of a digitally native brand, most brands would go through D2C or Amazon first, and then kind of swap to the other one. And then you have that hybrid going on, and then retail. Is that still the route that you would take if you had to go back in time and restart this whole thing again?
Yeah, so I think I always would have to start with the skill sets that I'm best at, and we're definitely best at D2C. Right. And what we're seeing is like when you run significant media spend, that is the real spillover and driver into these other channels. So it would be really difficult to start with, for example, retail. I mean, I'm not a retail guy. I don't know it really, really well. We have partners that we work with there to scale out retail. And I wouldn't know how to drive, the brand awareness to transition into D2C and stuff if I started in retail. So for us, what we've seen is like really heavy media spend across, all these marketing platforms on the D2C side is really the most powerful driver than for all these other channels. And if I were to go do it again tomorrow, which, we have a new brand that we just started a few months ago that we're really, really optimistic about. And it's following really the same framework and starting to do really well. We start with D2C as kind of the engine, social media marketing. We have our retention side with email and SMS. And the first platform we launch on is Amazon. And then we're going to go to Walmart.com, and we're going to keep growing out these other channels so that we can pick up on the spillover or this halo effect and, become a really powerful omni-channel brand.
Makes sense. And Cody, what have you seen in the, with all the clients that you work with on a daily basis, what are some of the key trends that you've seen in terms of mistakes that have been made by brands?
The biggest mistake would be not running or testing enough content, thinking that if they're going to be able to scale profitably, that they can do it with just a few creatives.
Like a one-hit wonder?
Yeah, I mean, the one-hit wonders are like typically not a great idea because no matter what, when you pump enough cash into it, something's going to like burn out. Mm-hmm. So not only that, but like that's if it's successful. If it's not successful, then you got no wonders and you're wondering what the hell you're going to do next. So the main thing is like being able to modularize your content to understand how you can mix and match all the pieces, the elements of your ads to be able to create variations, large scale variations.
When you say modularize your content, you begin with kind of a core piece and then you break that down into different sub pieces, or do you start with one thing and then you expand that into multiple ideas? How does that work?
Sure. So we have, let's say, between 20 and 30 proven frameworks. Between those proven frameworks, you're going to see elements of the ads that are repeated. Every one of them is going to have a hook. Every one of them will have an offer. Now, some of them will have discovery. Some of them will have authority. Some of them will have, different pieces, elements that others don't. But across all 20 to 30 of them, the elements are going to be repeated enough times to where you can break down those elements and identify them. Because really, videos are all just frameworks. So each framework uses different elements of it. And that's how you modularize it.
That makes sense. And with these frameworks, do you see them evolving over time, or do they stand the test of time?
Some of them stand the test of time. Some of them you got to continue to tweak. So we have a relator framework, which about a year ago it worked really well. with someone reading the teleprompter. Now that same framework has been tweaked to where it's UGC bullet points. It feels very authentic. Brandon's been big on this, and he's absolutely correct. TikTok is influencing a lot of the content and the feel of what's resonating with people and converting. So taking that TikTok-esque feel and bringing it to a framework that's been proven.
Yeah, I think like something that's really, I think one of the biggest things right now that a lot of people aren't really grasping yet is that we're living in an age of Instagram 1.0, right? Like organic reach, organic content is through the roof. And the amount of people that you can reach on these platforms. And the thing is also the TikToks, the Snapchat spotlights, YouTube shorts, all of these platforms are fighting for creators. They want to have the creator platform because that's how people are consuming content nowadays and consuming entertainment. And they're pushing so much organic to bring all these creators in. And right now is a golden opportunity to get your brand on there and not run any ad dollars behind it and just be a really good content creator for your brand and reach a lot of people. And I talk about this a lot with Cody and the guys. And it's when you look at Gymshark and these brands that are now like $1 billion that came out of the Instagram influencer era, that whole, I remember always saying, if I ever get an opportunity like that again, where the organic is like that, I'm just going to hammer it. And now is definitely that opportunity. You have so much organic reach on TikTok, Snapchat Spotlight, YouTube Reel or YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. And if you have the right content, then you're going to scale there really, really well organically. And I mean, we have a new company, like I mentioned, it's in the coffee space, and we're seeing serious organic revenue coming in just from following that model, just putting out a lot of content on these different platforms. And really, what this means is these different platforms we're in this era of like this creator boom. Everybody wants to be a creator. Everybody wants to showcase their life. Everybody wants to be an influencer, we'll call it. But you have to look to the platforms leading to see where content is moving. And right now it's really, really heavily on TikTok. So we're constantly looking to TikTok trends, TikTok fonts, like all the different fonts used on TikTok, all these different elements from these creator platforms that, are really starting to resonate with people when you start running content that kind of mimics or mirrors those platforms. So if you're making content for Facebook and Instagram and you're putting in these elements from TikTok, like the text bubbles or, one of their fonts or just playing off of one of the trends, it really resonates. And we're seeing it really, really do extremely well and outperform a lot of these older frameworks that we were working on even like a year ago or even like 6 months ago. So for us, like, a huge focus is definitely in the content world, making sure that we're up to speed or ahead of what's going on all these creator platforms.
That's something new to me, because I never thought about the relationship between each platform and how you could kind of extract one style and take that as a framework for another platform. But that makes total sense. I mean, as a consumer of content, I see that all the time, and it hooks. It just works. But when we think about TikTok as a platform, here's where it gets interesting. With most brands that I've spoken to, a lot of people are kind of hesitant about giving that a shot, and because it seems like it's unclear as to what works and what doesn't work, and it seems like it's effectively throwing money into like an abyss of unknown. What would your advice be in kind of taking that first step? Would it be just spending money on the platform?
It has to be native. It just, like, people, you have to think about it. Like, people go onto TikTok to either create or be entertained. Like, they don't want to be sold to. And if you can be as native and authentic as possible, then you're going to win. And I think it's a bigger opportunity than a lot of people think, because at the end of the day, you don't need an overproduced asset to do well on TikTok. You don't need to go and, for YouTube, for example, you generally need to put a bigger budget behind it to get a really good scalable asset. A lot of things that do really well on YouTube would be like Harmon Brothers stuff, right? But that's $300,000 for a video. And a lot of companies, when they're starting out, don't have that budget. So for me, and my advice would be, get on TikTok, because it's something you could do at home yourself and do really well, because it's a creator platform and they don't want to be sold to, and they want authenticity. For example, with like VisCap, like, we can get so much scale and so much content for so affordable, and you could test it like crazy on TikTok, because of just the nature of the platform isn't this overproduced type of content. It's really just you at home living your life, being as authentic and real as possible. So I think it's a huge opportunity, especially for people with lower budgets, because it's something that you need to be doing yourself at home, filming. If you don't have the budget, you got to be doing it yourself. It's something that you could take a video from zero to whatever by just filming your own content at home. And then once you start getting a feel for it, or if you have a little bit of budget, then like, that's where VisCap becomes a great partner, because like I said, they can pump out so much content, because it's so under the budget for it is significantly cheaper. And that's so much content that you could repurpose and test with. And, you're more likely to really probably find a winner there than you would, for example, YouTube.
I hope people listening are taking down notes, because this is gold. It's a common misconception that, and I hear this so often from close friends and clients who are running incredible brands making millions per month. And they still have the mindset of, I just need that one creative to work really, really well. I just need that one hit, and it's going to pay off for everything I'm going to spend on creatives. But that's often not the case. That's not how it works. And at volume, at scale, it's incredibly difficult. But talking about TikTok, and we were chatting about this prior to recording, but Cody, tell me about Doe Lashes. I've just had Jason, shout out to Jason Wong on the show prior to this. And you guys are crushing it for them. And they are crushing the game on with their creatives, TikTok. What was the strategy going into a brand like that?
So shout out Jason for sure. The guy's the man. The strategy with Doe Lashes. So Doe Lashes is a very impulse, aspirational type of purchase. So it was quite different for our strategy on these guys. Typically, we live in the direct response realm, still taking those principles, knowing that at the price point and what people are aspiring for, their desire here, we go with a lot of micro ads, a lot of branded content showing off the desired end result. There's not as much to like really make hardcore comparisons or newfound discoveries on this. So a lot of the stuff was just very product demonstration, product result for these. And we call those our micro ads. Micro ads typically for us are something that we do at the bottom of the funnel or for engagement. But their ads are crushing. Some of them are getting like sub 3 CPAs.
Wow.
Many in the teens ROAS, and getting good scale. So about most I can say on it, but they're doing very well.
It's amazing. And with the clients that you've worked with brands of pretty much all sizes, from startups to those generating 9 figures and above. What's a typical kind of life cycle of or journey of a brand or of DTC brand? Like Brandon was talking about if you have no budget, you got to do it yourself. And the best way to do it yourself is with kind of native organic type of content. But then what's next? Once they hit a certain, there has to be some kind of a milestone that people look towards. And then it's time to, all right, I got to talk to VisCap now. And then what's next? And what are those layers?
So typically we're working with brands that are generating 7 figures or higher in revenue. So that's typically been like the what's next type of deal. Now we do work with brands that have less than that, but the main thing is that we were looking to work with brands that want to continue to test and understand that like testing is going to be the key to scaling profitably. Pretty much it. We work it as an extension of their in-house team. So like before we even decide if we're going to work with someone, we're going to come in to like analyze what has worked for them. What's the market like? We're going to do our research. And from there, it's really like a close relationship, work with the media buyers, what's worked for you guys in the past, what hasn't worked. Then we take that info and roll it up into frameworks that we have proven results in. Start from there. That's kind of like how we cast our net. So we're going to go with our proprietary system of best performing ad frameworks. From there, after we get the data, we'll go 80-20 and produce a second round of content that is optimized towards the frameworks that are resonating with their audience.
Got it. So you would kill basically 80% of the idea that you initially started with and scale the ones that are working.
I should clarify. So let's say we give them 10 pieces of content, 10 different frameworks.
Yep.
And 5 of them hit. Now in the next round of content, we're going to produce 80% of their content with those 5 proven frameworks.
Makes sense.
And then the 20% we'll use to continue to test new frameworks, new angles, new offers, or expand into different parts of their demographics.
Gotcha. And now let's talk about what's next for VisCap. You guys have scaled incredibly quickly for just effectively 2 years, less than 2 years old. Agency. What's next for the agency?
A lot of things. The main thing is, well, we're working on some software. We also want to become like full service. Work on the dev and development side, and then eventually add in media buying. The objective there is to be able to control the outcomes and really be able to be like a full done for you solution. And on the software side, with all the models that we have, turning those models into accessible content creators for clients to use, and many other things. There's a lot ahead.
Brandon, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I think, the idea from the beginning, obviously, what I've pushed them to focus on is do what they're best at, and really creative has been that, and make your kind of staple in the industry as being the creative leader. And then there's a lot of opportunity to branch out from there. But what's interesting is creative hasn't plateaued yet. So there's still so much room for growth there. There's still so much opportunity and market share there. So there's, all these other elements that we, and just kind of offerings that we want to expand into, and we're going to, and it's definitely on the roadmap. But it's interesting to see that we haven't even scratched the surface yet for the creative world. And there's still so much we could do there. I mean, if you think about it, creatives break into so many different departments, or we call them pillars, right? You have your really branded content, and this is where you're really getting artsy and bringing out the really heavy brand elements. And a lot of times that's not the stuff that converts, but it's still good to have in your arsenal. And then you have, lifestyle content, and this is something that might look like very influencer oriented. And then you have your direct response side. So there's, all these different elements still that you can expand into and offer. And we definitely plan on, moving in that direction so that, at the end of the day, at least, we're an A to Z creative agency. And then, once that's kind of mapped out and mastered, I guess you'd call it, then the sky's the limit. And there's all these other, agency models you can expand into.
Cool. And Brandon, what about Shine Armor and all your other brands? Do you have a mastermind or massive game plan for all your brands in the near term?
We do. We have a lot that we're always looking at doing, but and a lot I can't really talk about right now. So that's why it's a difficult question. But yeah, we'll have to maybe like
we'll come
now. Get on another call and we'll give you an update of what's going on.
We'll love to do that. We'll love to do a part 2. But you process a ton of information every single day. You both do, and a ton of ideas. And talking about filtering and the process of kind of knowing what to take on as an opportunity and what to say no to, I struggle with that a lot. And thankfully, I have my co-founder and COO, Lewis, to help me with that filtering process. But what's your process in knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to?
You're much better at Cody, because I just want to do everything.
Yeah. I mean, I want to do everything too, so it's hard. But the main thing really is just looking at how long it's going to take to implement something and what the upside is. I'm not as worried about like risk always in like the decisions because there's going to be risk in everything, of course. But I want to know what the upside is and how easily it can be implemented. How many resources do we need to be able to make this happen? And how quickly can we do it to see a needle mover?
Makes sense. Impact and ease, effectively. Impact and ease.
Yeah.
And here's a question for both of you. What are some other brands that you guys personally look up to and you think that they do an incredible work at what they do?
I personally love DrSquatch.
DrSquatch.
I go through phases of brands that I really just break apart. And right now I've been on DrSquatch for a while. I think across the board, they do really well with everything. I like when a brand can bring like the satirical or a parody element into it. And if you look, like, at the end of the day, their content isn't big budget Harmon Brothers style stuff, right? It's stuff that is really native feeling and really authentic feeling. And I think that goes to show that, like, you can be a huge company and your content really just comes down to being with the trends and being with how people are engaging with content, and not this big budget Budweiser style commercial. It's crazy what you can do right now for the time and budget.
That's such a great example, and people often think about
they gotta reach out to VisCap because we'd love to work with them.
If you guys are listening, DrSquatch, reach out to VisCap, viscapmedia.com, and that's such a great example. And you made such a good point. Don't be limited by your budget and what you think that can do for you. And just, it's about, creatives is about being creative. And often, we have to work around with what we have to make the best use of the resources that we have. Now, Cody, what about you? What are some brands that you look up to?
DrSquatch is definitely one of them. Brandon's always sharing their stuff. For me, it is one of the clients that we work with. But Lounge, I look up to them, in it for a different reason. they're really, really killer brand. And the way that they think about content and test their content is nothing like that I've seen before. And really, they're one of those partners that when you work with or like you begin studying their stuff, like it really forces change, leveling up, and seeing the amount of creatives and how they're doing it is it's just next level. So a lot of the reason why I look up to that brand is because working with them has forced us to like evolve rapidly, to make new teams, systems, really understand content at a much deeper level, especially the authenticity, the UGC driven influencer style of content. They do it very well. Branding as well. Their branding is killer.
I love working with brands that push you to just be a little bit better than you were. And now, as we approach the end of this this interview, what are some books that you recommend e-com entrepreneurs read in 2021 for both of you? Are you guys big readers?
Oh yeah, big time. I would say tested advertising methods, breakthrough advertising. Depends really like which role in the company you are. For anything that's like ad driven, you're going to want to be reading direct response books. Copy Secrets is also pretty good. That's an entry level book. More like your CEO type level people. Traction's really good. Scaling Up is good. Mastering the Rockefeller Habits is really good. 5 Steps Ahead.
5 Steps Ahead. Nice. Brandon, what about you? On the creative side?
I think the greatest book of all time is Breakthrough Advertising. I think it's really fun that when you see all of these like gurus or whatever people, putting out that their content about creatives and copywriting, it's all regurgitated, repurposed stuff from Breakthrough Advertising. Everyone just takes Breakthrough Advertising and
I noticed
it gives it their own name to it, but
yeah,
and then they sell some fancy course with it. But like, I think anyone that wants to get into advertising, copywriting, creatives, brand building, that book really covers it all. And it's cool because it's like a workbook and it gives you different examples and frameworks and just like scenarios to work through. So I kind of think of it like a playbook or workbook.
And it's one of those books that you can go back again and again. And it's just timeless. It's relevant regardless of the platform, the algorithms and things that we're facing today.
Yep. Yeah. Whenever there's like ad fatigue, right, or just copywriting fatigue, just hop back into that book and really open up any page and you can pull out different nuggets to kind of get the creative flow going again.
Amazing. And Brandon, Cody, if people are interested to connect with you guys or reach out to VisCap, what's the best way to reach you guys?
You could reach us at Cody at VisCapMedia.com or go to VisCapMedia.com. Pretty simple.
That's CODY at VisCapMedia.com.
Yep. Or my number is 920-505-0686.
You got it. And Brandon, what about you? What are your socials?
I don't have anything cool. I would say reach out to Cody. He's a lot more interesting than me. I'm just.
Well, you're on Facebook as well, and I guess Instagram. People can follow you there.
Yeah. What's my @? Let me see. I'm not a big. I don't really put myself out there. Brandon_M555 on Insta. Me and my 600 followers.
That's cool, man. You're a producer. You're not a consumer of content, and that's such an interesting dynamic. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Josh. Absolute pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the E-commerce Profits Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get notified of future episodes.